Greetings, one and all. It's Dr. Jonathan Ellerby with another live 12 at 12, your daily dose of mindful wisdom and spiritual growth for difficult times, and I'd say for any time, really. If you'd like to learn more about what I do, you can check out my website, jonathanellerby.com. I'm giving away a book for free right now, and you can also check out the great programs and things going on at Althea Center Denver website or Facebook. But let's dive in to what I think is truly the most important thing you could possibly come to fully understand and trust in your life. This is an awareness that changes lives. It is a kind of faith that does not require any blindness. And when I see this single concept, this single principle embraced by people, what I observe is that it can help them to do anything. And by that, I mean facing loss, facing uncertainty, facing illness, wanting to know what to do next, challenges in relationships. So whatever it is you are facing, this one core principle, belief, philosophy, whatever you want to call it, is going to change everything every time. Sound good? So we don't have long. Let's settle in. Let's take a deep breath, and then we'll get to it. Eyes closed, if you will, sitting comfortably but alert. Just give yourself a moment. You've arrived here at this message, and more important than even the message itself is your ability just to stop and take this moment for yourself. If your mind is busy from searching the internet, or the busyness of your day, or just the busyness of your inner world, take a breath, and listen into the stillness that you are always carrying. The silence at the center of your being. Hafiz wrote around the 13th century a poem that is now called When I Want to Kiss God. When no one is looking, I swallow deserts and clouds and chew on mountains knowing they are sweet bones. When no one is looking, I want to kiss God. I just lift my own hand to my mouth, and it is done. In this poem, Hafiz is expressing that God is in everything, that God is everywhere. God is in the clouds, the desert, the mountain, and when he wants to feel and know God most intimately, most closely, he need only reach for himself. The word God is something that a lot of us get stuck on, even those of us who have a deep experience and faith, for lack of a better word, in a higher consciousness, an original source, energy, power, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And yet, God has become a complicated term because of history, because of religion, because of a lot of obvious things. The problem is that as humans, we're kind of born impressionable, which means that we are always impacted by conditions and our conditioning, and sometimes we lose our natural sense of things. We lose our natural relationship to what's most important. So the idea that God is in everything, that God is everywhere, gets complicated because we hear that word in our minds and we start to question and analyze. Are we talking about a being, a person? Is it intelligent? Does it know I exist? Does it care? Let's pull away all the complexity of language. And let's come at this mystical principle a little differently. What if we were to replace the word God simply with life? Much the way a lot of people replace the word God with universe. You know, the universe has your back, or I talk to the universe, things like that. But I like to call it life because it's not a metaphor. Life itself clearly has an energy, for me, an obvious spirit, and, even through the eyes of science, an absolute and definite design. There are rules and laws and principles of life always at work. Whether it's gravity, or whether it's E equals mc squared, there are some things that this life, this universe, is built to sustain, and there are some things that this universe is not. Some things work well together, and some things don't. So, diving off, a 3-meter diving board into a beautifully cleaned, deep swimming pool, that works. Going with the flow of gravity. Jumping off a 10-story building into a busy city street doesn't work, right? So there are clearly laws at work. That sounds simple enough, doesn't it? But what we have to realize that there is also a design not only in the physics of the universe, but also in the psychology of the universe. What I mean by that is, our inner worlds, your inner world, is directly connected with the same laws and principles and design that is governing everything else in the world. That means at a core, fundamental level, just the way all things on this planet obey gravity, so do all experiences, thoughts, emotions, relationships, all experiences in your life occur within the basic rules and design of the universe. Right? Kind of makes sense. It's almost what we call in logic a truism. Everything happens inside the rules of life. Now, this is very important for a couple of reasons. First of all, this simple principle that everything that you experience is happening within the laws, the rules, the design of life, including your inner world, your emotional world, your responses, your choices, your feelings, then it means that if there is ever a sense of meaninglessness, hopelessness, or blame upon others for our experiences, we have to step back. And we have to recognize that that is emotional thinking. And that's fine if you know what it is. It feels like it's meaningless. It feels like there's no purpose. It feels like they are to blame. But we can know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that can't be true. That can't be true because of the first principle, which is everything happens inside the design of life. And that means even your most intimate moments. Now, the tricky thing on the human experience is that we don't often see the interplay between life's design and our choices and feelings, experiences, except over time. So time will show you whether your behaviors are congruent with the design of life. How? By rewarding you with sustainability, with energy, just the way it rewards and affirms anything in nature at all. If something is built to succeed or survive in its given environment, it will. And if it's not, it won't. Again, the tricky thing is that we are often not patient enough, self-aware enough, or reflective enough to string together the beads of our experience into one story belt and see just how our choices, habits, behaviors are aligned with or resistant to the nature and design of life. But we're going to go one last step before we close. The most important principle I wanted to share today is not the simple fact that all things occur. Your inner world and everything about you is happening inside a structured universe. Infinite potential, but with structured dynamics, structured rules. We can access the infinite dynamics when we learn the rules. There is an interplay between form and formless, energy and structure. The hidden principle that is so critical is that no matter how hard life gets, and no matter how messy or chaotic life looks, life carries its own medicine. That means no matter what you are facing, no matter what you are failing, faltering, feeling, there is a remedy. And the remedy won't come from people. It won't come from stuff. It will come from learning the language of life and paying attention to how your experience, your suffering, your thinking relates to the great design of life itself. And if you take every life moment as a soul lesson, which probably most of you listening understand, then not only can life teach you, help you, and heal you, but in time, if you pay close attention to all the lessons that life has shown you, all the behaviors and choices that are sustainable, and all those that are not, you will begin to have intimate first-hand knowledge of the true nature of being. It is kind of like something we find indirectly. We can't quite see it when we are not engaged with it. But when we reach out, when we keep moving, when we keep learning, when we stay open and curious, little by little by little, like an archaeologist digging out the edges of a temple, we start to find a form. We start to discover the patterns. And we realize that life is not only structured and designed, but it's structured and designed in our favor to bring us back to peace, to spirit, to harmony. Everything that works with the design of life brings us to resilience and joy, and everything that doesn't work with the flow of life brings us to imbalance, despair, and sometimes disease. It's a lot to think about if you're really taking it and considering that you have something extraordinary in your hands, which is the recipe for creating miracles, literally a formula for making magic in your life. Well, there's a lot to say about that, but we're done for now. Time's up. I encourage you to share this if it was helpful. Send me questions if something didn't make sense. Be sure to download your free book. And I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful day. Catch you later. Bye.